Hello everybody, this is your social studies video for today, Thursday, May 21st. When we left off, we were talking about the Boston Massacre and tensions between Britain and the colonists. I hope you've been watching the Liberty Kids. It covers the same thing that I'm covering in my videos and also in the book. So, if you saw the first episode, you would know what I'm going to be reading about today. And that is the Boston Tea Party. So we're on page 154. You could see a bunch of people throwing tea off ships, okay? Kind of looks like they're having a party. Looks like they're having a good time. But anyway, it wasn't that. So I'm going to read about what the Boston Tea Party was. And hopefully you've been seeing it in Liberty Kids, and hope you watch the second episode today, where we'll talk about it at some point during our Zoom sessions. Okay, so in 1773, Parliament passed a new law, the Tea Act. This law said that only one British company, the East India Company, could sell tea in the colonies. The law actually lowered the price of tea, but it kept the tea tax that was left over from the Townshend Acts. This ended up making the tea more expensive. So that might be a little confusing. It lowered the price of the actual tea, but since the taxes were so high, the lower price combined with the taxes was actually more than they were selling the tea for originally. Now, the British East India Company was directly funded by the king, okay? Or I'm sorry, other way around. It funded the king and queen, okay? So it was an official company of Britain, Great Britain, okay? So many colonists opposed the Tea Act. They believed that Parliament did not have the right to tax the tea, and they did not want to be forced to buy it from only one company. In protest, colonial merchants refused to buy tea from the British East India Company. Okay, so that's what we talked about before, a boycott. That's what they did the last time, remember? They were boycotting other things that were being taxed. They would not even allow it to be unloaded from ships in colonial ports. On December 16, 1773, 3 ships carrying British tea lay anchored in Boston Harbor. That night, members of the Sons of Liberty boarded the ships. They disguised themselves so they would not be recognized. The group threw 342 chests of tea into the harbor, ruining the tea. The event became known as the Boston Tea Party. It angered the British even further. I'm surprised it doesn't say how they dressed up here, but they dressed up like Native Americans. That was their disguise. Okay, and if you saw the Liberty Kids, you would have seen that. Okay, so page 155. How does Great Britain react to all this? Okay, so Great Britain reacts. King George III and Parliament were furious when they heard about the Boston Tea Party. They passed a series of laws to punish the people of Boston. The colonists called these laws the Intolerable Acts. Intolerable means unbearable. These punishments included the colonists had to quarter or give food and shelter to British troops. So to quarter means to, not a quarter like the money that we're used to hearing. In those days, it meant to quarter troops, meant that if they knocked on your front door and said, I need a place to stay, I need food, you had to invite them inside your house by law. Imagine that, you know, someone just knocking at your door into your privacy of your home, and you have to let them in. The second one is the colony of Massachusetts was put under martial law. That means it was controlled by the military under British General Thomas Gage. So they actually kind of put the military in charge to keep things under control. And then the third one is British Navy ships blockaded Boston Harbor. The port would stay closed until colonists paid for the tea they had destroyed. As news of these laws spread, colonists began taking sides. Those who strongly opposed Britain's actions were called patriots. Colonists still loyal to Britain were called loyalists. Many colonists were undecideds or neutral. They did not choose one side or the other. Thomas Hutchinson, a loyalist, was governor of Massachusetts at the time of the Boston Tea Party. Samuel Adams was a patriot, as we know. And there's a picture of them, too, at the bottom of the page. Samuel Adams on the left and Thomas Hutchinson on the right. So for number 4, it asks... actually, I did it again. Okay, skip number 3. Number 3 on page 154. Turn back to 154 for a minute. Number 3 says, this painting shows the Boston Tea Party. Write why you think some colonists disguised themselves and boarded the ships at night. Okay.